Priscilla Nalwoga,
Robert Kirabo,
Molen Kenyana,
Ruben Mpimba,
with all the morning's essentials,
including the very latest in news, traffic,
weather and sports.
live on TV and across all our social media platforms. #UBCJMU.
Hope you'll be setting your alarms, cause we are looking forward to seeing you then.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing the body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning to you all our viewers, and today being the 8th day of that is September 2021, also causes a true reminder that we actually running towards the end of this beautiful. Yeah, I call it beautiful because there's so much we have overcome. As I said some time ago, that we started with the mayhem of politicking, thereafter came the mayhem of lockdown, and here we are alive and kicking because we have been graced by the only one, God. Now this morning also we want to take the same plight into acknowledging that we are only who we are because we are a chosen generation. And guess who else I'm choosing to start this day with here on Good Morning Uganda is Priscilla, Robert and Molen. And I'll start with you, Robert. Good morning.
A lovely morning to you, Felix. It is a cold morning, I must say, and so in case you're coming into town, get yourself a raincoat, a cardigan. If you have infants, ensure they are warm because so much comes with such weather. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for waking up with us this lovely morning, where we believe so much that if you have a positive mindset, then everything will go as planned. Negativity shouldn't be part of you. Like Felix said, no matter what the times are, you're a winner. You've overcome, you've come this far, and you can still make it.
And of course, speaking about how far we've come, next is the lady herself. And I would say
next contestant.
For this greet, it is Priscilla Nalwoga, aka Nali.
Well,
good morning.
Good morning to you, Felix. A salute to all of Uganda, north of Uganda, south of Uganda, eastern Uganda, western Uganda, and central Uganda. Thank you so much for waking up to Good Morning Uganda. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga, and today being Wednesday, of course, we do shine some light on women. And yesterday, working with traditional leaders, UN Women in Africa have partnered with leaders locally to actually build impetus for continent-wide commitment to child marriage and female genital mutilation. And we do have Her Royal Highness Queen Mother Best Kemigisa for Toro Kingdom coming up to say, and I quote, "We are saying no, we want our babies to go back to school because they are not ready for marriages, no having babies."
Wow, that's quite something important and lovely to listen to. But of course, far from that again, I want to say good morning to you, Molen.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Felix, Priscilla and Robert, and of course our lovely viewers. I noticed that we are both putting on brown. Are you seeing that? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Away from that.
Like how they say is they say positive what? Unlike poles attract each other.
Yeah. Oh, you do remember your physics. That was physics.
It's Felix, I mean.
Of course, it's a Wednesday, and we also get to have it as a Woman Crush Wednesday. And guess what? Today morning, I'm crushing on a particular lady She is the former Secretary General for the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. I mean, climate change person. So, but this lady has done a lot in the world of climate change. She's called Christiana Figueres. She did put up a good competition for the UN Secretary General against Antonio Guterres. But of course she came second. But she's done a lot of projects with climate change, and yesterday she was talking about more on what to do. She did start up the campaign to have more action on climate change. Yeah, so I am crushing on her this morning, and I don't know whether Robert has a woman crush for this Wednesday. Robert, do you have?
Uncle Bob. Who are you crushing?
The Uncle Bob's. I meet someone out there and then, hey, so you work with Uncle Bob?
Uncle Bob.
I looked for Uncle Bob on this.
There you have Uncle Bob.
I couldn't find Uncle Bob until they described. They said, you mean Kirabo?
And
yes,
you know what acknowledges his Uncle Bobness? Is his Channel O? Like old school Channel O. Uncle Bob is a biker.
You can only see
Uncle
the
Bob,
smile
Uncle
he's
Bob.
right now. He's like all smiling ear to ear. I think he likes the channel.
and his expensive dogs.
Talk about the dogs.
Real uncle profile.
See, in a time when people should know little about you, so I don't want to invite thugs to my
take your channel.
No, to steal a few of my things. But there's many people actually know me as Bob for reasons that, you see, most of the Bobs, either Robert or Bob. So what happened, when I was filling in my senior 4, my late uncle, Reverend Canon David Sentongo, told me that you cannot continue using Bob because we are in the British system and Bob is American. So you have to drop Bob and adopt Robert.
So who are you crushing on, Bob?
Allow me crush on that is Honorable Robina Nabanja.
Okay.
This week there is something that interested me in Parliament. When she asked Honorable Semuju that you're my friend, and I've seen you on media going around saying even I couldn't be able to manage maybe a garbage factory, so please tell me, what do you have? You and me, what do you want from me as a person? On the floor of Parliament, and people are like, wah! So I'm like, yeah, this lady, I like her way she's a bit firm and strong and not being tossed around. Many thought that they're just going to have a ride, but I want to say yes. She stood her ground. She's very open, and I love the kind of character in her and the way she's handling her leadership skills as the head of government business.
Priscilla, you crushing on anyone today?
I did.
Already?
Yes. Her Royal Highness, Queen Mother of Toro Kingdom.
Best Ken Bishop.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Her continued work really for advocating not just for the girl child within, the Toro Kingdom, but also on the continent. She's speaking at the UN Women Africa Summit that is happening this week, and she's sending the voice on behalf of the girls for Uganda. So for me, that is really credible, commendable work.
And for me, I'll be crushing on Caritas, Karen Simbi, my dear darling one, my very, very good friend, long-time friend, Nalwoga. You turned 40, wow. It seems just like yesterday, and God bless you.
Turned 40?
Yeah, I remember we normally do the treadmill together at the gym, and she doesn't, I didn't know that she's turning 40 though.
She doesn't look anything like 40.
She looks like 20 plus.
I know.
Yeah,
so,
wow.
Nalwoga, today I'm crushing on you. You are a good woman. She's a very kind and very focused and modest person.
I'm told also Bebe Cool turned 50.
No, he turned 44.
44.
Yeah. But Babi also turned 30 something, I think, over.
Is it the industry or is it the kind of chizigo they use?
No, I think it's about lifestyle. I think it's about lifestyle. You see, when you're in this socialite life, you have to struggle to keep looking on point. Yeah. And they have killed it clearly in that. But anyway, all of you out there, our viewers, I was about to say our watchers.
Who have watchers? It's okay. We have watchers.
There are no problem. One of the songs of Shaggy, the song is called Use Me. In the intro, there's a guy who says, he was, I think, making an Instagram post and says, "Hello, my name is Big Daddy. your boyfriend is important, I am important. So you
Typical Nigerian. Important.
I know. So, but anyway, for some of you who are watching us on UBC, you can feel free to crush on anyone through our social media platforms. Send us a message on who you're crushing on today. Being a Wednesday, I'll be crushing on those women that have become splendid in the lives of the communities, societies, our countries, or particularly in your lives. But of course, we'll also be looking at a couple of things, Priscilla. We'll be looking at
Local
as
stories.
our normal drills here, we'll be having our local stories, we'll be having our newsreel. We'll also be looking at an interaction with the peace ambassador later on. That is Robert, will be giving us an insight into what much can we do in these dying times of the kind of getting lost in politics and how we find a stance and also with humanity. But of course, we have sports updates, so much in sports there, and much more. Of course, later on we'll be having the extra from Jagenda. But as we await to get into that, we want to have also a glimpse in what did happen in the stories, that is probably the news last night, with Robert and Priscilla and myself and Molen will be coming along with international stories.
And we will begin this with a story on government performance in most local government and municipalities, where we see bureaucracy and delayed release of funds have been cited as one of the main reasons for not so good performance of local government administrative units. Prime Minister Robin Anabanja challenged permanent secretaries across ministries to always verify project progress before approving funds. As reporter Henry Okrut interacted with some of the key people in this local government's report, which was during the government annual performance review at the office of the Prime Minister, where Ibanda was named best performing district in the country. These responses were in reaction to a report on the performance of local governments in the financial year 2020-2021. It was presented by the Minister for Karamoja Affairs, Mary Goreti Gitutu, on behalf of Minister for General Duties, Justin Kasule Rumumba. It was noted that municipal local governments performed better than district. Whereas revenue collection plans were not well implemented, some districts emerged victorious, with Ibanda as the best. Bugweri performed poorly, but why the disparities? The event held at the office of the Prime Minister was graced by the presence of the Vice President, Alupo Jessica, and the Prime Minister, Robin Anabanja. Both agreed that information sharing is vital for future planning.
The Lokusin High Court in Kampala has dismissed an election petition filed against Kawempe North Member of Parliament Muhammad Segirinya by the petitioner Sulaiman Chidandala. Court to dismiss this petition based on the grounds that the petitioner Sulaiman Chidandala failed to effectively serve Segirinya with the petition while on remand in Chitalia Government Prison as directed by court. During the last court sitting, the Electoral Commission legal team led by Eric Sabiti asked High Court to dismiss the petition which was filed against Kawempe North Member of Parliament Mohamed Segirinya. Tuesday morning, before Justice Harrieta Wolayo, after perusing through both sides' submissions, was pleased with the Electoral Commission's prayers, thus dismissing the petition. In the ruling, which was read by the Civil Division Assistant Registrar Agnes Alum, court said that Segirinya was not effectively served as directed by Justice Baguma. According to Justice Wolayo, Segirinya's lawyers had to go and serve him through the OC of Chitaria and then another copy put on the court notice board, and however, Chidandala's lawyer's intent was at serving Segirinya in person, not through the office in charge of Chitaria.
Still on the local scene, we now look at evictions that are soon to happen, where Uganda Railways Corporation has engaged the political leadership of Kirabo municipality on the best way to evict squatters who encroached on Uganda Railways land reserve. However, the Kirabo municipality political leadership has turned down threats by Uganda Railways Corporation to evict the alleged squatters on Uganda Railway reserve land. Last week, Uganda Railways Corporation received fully refurbished locomotives. However, the State Minister for Transport, Musa Echuro used the same platform to sound a warning to all squatters illegally occupying Uganda Railways Reserve land to leave with immediate effect or else risk to be forcefully evicted pending effective operations of Uganda Railways Corporation. The Chief Civil Engineer, Uganda Railways Corporation, Godfrey Obara, and Kirabo municipality leadership engaged in a stakeholders meeting to forge solutions to the threatening eviction against squatters on Uganda Railways land.
Regarding Masaka murders, Kawempe North MP Mohamed Segrinya and Machinde West MP Alan Sewanjana have been remanded to Chitania Prison until the 15th of this month after being charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 count attempted murder in Masaka district. The group appeared before Masaka Chief Magistrate Court but were however barred from entering any plea since they are charged with capital offences that are triable and bailable by the High Court. The 2 were charged with 4 others including Serwadam Mike, Muonge Jude, Wamala Bulo and Mugerwa John. Prosecution states that the group on the 23rd of August at Senya village in the Masaka city with malice aforethought killing Chiyimba Tadeo and attempted to murder Sevioto Ronald on the same day at Setala village. The MPs were arrested at Masaka police station where they had gone for the 2nd day to make police statements on the famous Vijambia killings in Masaka district. Police says some of the suspects arrested implicated the 2 MPs of having hired them to carry out the killings, allegedly promising them large sums of money. However, yesterday the MPs told journalists that they said allegations are politically motivated by their enemies, denying the said murder charges.
Well, now we'll dive into our international stories and we'll be looking at our first story being now hardliners get key posts in the new Taliban government. The Taliban have announced an interim government in Afghanistan declaring the country as an Islamic emirate. Now, the new cabinet, entirely male, is made up of senior Taliban figures, some of whom are notorious for attacks on US forces over the last 2 decades. Now, it will be led by Mullah Mohammed Hassan Ahund, one of the movement's founder, who is on a UN blacklist. Now, the interior minister in feared FBI wanted leader, that is Haqqani militant group, that is Sirajun Hakim, will also be the deputy there, and Taliban seized control of most of Afghanistan more 3 weeks ago, ousting the previous elected leadership. Now, announcement of the acting cabinet is a key step in the formation of the permanent Taliban government, and the new leadership will face significant challenges, not least stabilizing the country economy and also gaining international recognition. Now, still about international stories, Mexico decriminalizes abortion in landmark ruling. Now, Mexico's Supreme Court has ruled that the criminal penalties for terminating pregnancies are unconstitutional, and the ruling for the northern state of Coahuila prevents women from being prosecuted for getting abortion. Now, abortion is currently severely restricted in all but 4 of the county's states have upheld the same. Now, Supreme Court Justice Luis Maria Aguela described the move as a historic step for the right of women. Now, on Tuesday, the court declared in the state of Julio to remove sanctions for abortion from the criminal code. Now, the decision could pave way for decriminalizing abortion across the country. And currently, abortion is only legal in handful states, except cases of rape where the mother's life is at danger. Now, back to Africa, we'll be looking at Ethiopia's Tigray crisis. The TPLF says at least 150 people have died of starvation in this region. Now, about 150 people died of starvation in Ethiopia's war-hit Tigray region in August. The Tigray People Liberation Front has come out to make mention. These are the first hunger-related deaths that the TPLF has reported since the fighters recaptured most of the region from the federal forces in June. There is no independent confirmation of its statement. However, the UN previously said about 400,000 people were already living in famine-like conditions in the Tigray, and the federal government has not responded to the TPLF's statement. About 5.2 million people Or 90% of Tigris population urgently needed aid to avert the world's worst famine situation in decades. UN came out to acknowledge and cause the plight.
Flooding hitting Mexico hospital, killing 17 patients. Now, at least 17 people have been killed after heavy rainfall across Mexico City, that is central Hidalgo state, officials say. Now, they say a river burst its banks and water then cut the power supply in the hospital in the town of Tula. Some of the victims were COVID-19 patients who relied on oxygen therapy, as the local media reports. Now, rescuers evacuated about 40 patients. Meanwhile, a boat transporting the state governor sank in the river. Omar Fayad later tweeted that he was fine and sound, adding that the state authorities would continue coordinating emergency operations in the affected area. Well, Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador said he was very saddened by the hospital death and urged residents of low-lying areas to move to shelters or stay with relatives and friends in safer places. More than 30,000 people in town across the state have been affected by these floods. Well,
Sad, but very sad. We're seeing lots of inhuman activities, like what's happening in the Tigray, now what's happening also through what actually nature is not offering, I must say. But far from that, also what's happening in Afghanistan and this whole abortion thing. Just if you can just take 1 minute and make comment about it. We saw a couple of states, actually already a couple of states in the US have sort of like legalized abortion. And we're seeing more and more states coming out. Now we also see Colombia coming out to legalize abortion. And I'll start with you, probably, Robert. What's your true sentiment before I come to the ladies? And that, because I want to end with
I wish you had begun with the ladies.
All right.
But, yeah.
Priscilla, what's your comment about this whole thing of legalizing abortion?
Well, it's happening in the USA, not here. So that for them, that is considered okay. I think here, considering our customs, our cultures, and our beliefs, but also the fact that when you look at abortion, this is taking a life, you know, depending, no matter what nature of circumstance, unless really medically advised that you cannot bear, you know, what is the fruit of your womb, and unless that's the case, then surely the people who are going for abortions for all other reasons are doing it illegally. So here, at least, may God keep us that we are still, you know, on this the right path in terms of some of these things. Yeah. So,
Molen, yes, what's your true sentiment about this whole thing of legalizing abortion?
Well, I also want to add to what Priscilla is saying. I think that unless it's really a medical condition, like if the medics are recommending it. For example, we have seen cases where there have been maybe children that are of a low age and they have conceived, and at a certain point the medical personnel is like, it's impossible for this child to have a baby and the best course they can take is abortion, but still that is a medical procedure. Or for some women where this pregnancy is posing a threat to their health and even could result into actually affecting the baby that could grow. So that is a procedure that still the medics take. But on a level where someone just decides,
walk in and say,
yeah,
hi, I'm here for abortion.
Yeah.
They give you a paper to sign, you do the procedure and walk back home.
So that is kind of challenging, because then it all, it just doesn't sit well with me in terms of looking at even the religious aspect of it. Yeah.
Robert?
Well, I want to tell Molen and Priscilla that what is happening there, it's just a matter of time to come to Uganda. With this human rights and this funding, anytime we may have that as long as it's not above 6 or 8 weeks like some states do. But I'm an advocate of children by choice and not chance. I rest my case.
So if I may pick directly from what Robert is saying, probably he's for the abortion. But anyway, Just a quick one is that we must be able to disseminate our values from legalese, our moralities from legalese as well. There are so many things we can do to avoid the status or the mind or the challenges or the thought of aborting. Sometimes we do things not thinking of the repercussions. See, abortion is after you're pregnant. How about you think about before you get pregnant? I think for me that's the most important thing, and the aftermath of that is entirely personal. The problem is that we as black people do not appreciate, we're not very honest people. Between you and me, you know the number of abortions that happen in this country may even be more
Felix,
than those
you must
in the
add
US.
the word unsafe abortions that happen in this country.
What's the difference? Safe or whatever
Unsafe
it is.
abortion.
Potato,
Taking a life,
potato,
yeah.
Robert.
Where someone
So-
doesn't go to the hospital to have that procedure, I think that is what is
Well,
called
but the whole thing is, what's the difference anyway?
And the
Abortion
many lives
is
that
abortion.
are lost because of the
Yes, I know
because of
some people-
criminalizing it that
Exactly.
maybe would be saved.
Well, you see, that's the whole thing. Let us have a discussion in avoiding unwanted pregnancies.
Not even
That should
in
be the discussion.
avoiding, but in managing unwanted pregnancies. Because the honest truth is that you've had cases whereby, yeah, they use the condoms, but things don't go. They use the pills, but things still do not, work out. Yeah, so you have to leave room for that. The thing is, how do you manage something you did not expect? And that is where we need to actually pull up our socks. Create counseling centers. The same way we've had counseling centers being set up for HIV/AIDS, and that has surely transformed how people, the victims or the ones that have HIV/AIDS now take it, but it has also transformed the the community's response to HIV/AIDS, and it has reduced on stigmatization. So in the same manner, the responsiveness to unexpected things coming your way is very important.
But
you can
also-
still have your pregnancy, but of course when you get it, you're thinking shame, you're thinking society, you're thinking my family is going to kill me,
That would
this
all
guy is
mean
not going to support me, I might as well
by the time
deal
you're
away
thinking all
with
those
it.
things-
You can't keep throwing your problems away. You have to
No,
face
but-
your problems.
But look here, by the time you start thinking all those things, it means that you're getting pregnant in the wrong time or with the wrong people. But anyway, when we're in school, I remember one of our teachers used to tell us 2 things to expect when you decide to put your pants down, either a girl or a boy, pregnancy or HIV, or STDs, let me call them that. So he used always to tell us, you decide to put your pants off, either as a woman or a man, 2 things to expect. So think of it as you want to put your pants down. But Robert
But also,
wants...
Felix, just a minute. There are cases that we are forgetting. There is defilement. There is rape.
Yeah.
And those are actually at a huge number. They are
Indeed.
rising at a
Indeed.
huge number.
You're
If
very
someone
right.
gets pregnant through rape, through defilement,
You're
that
very
is going
right,
to
yeah.
be emotional and trauma. So if that
Those are
person were
different
to
cases,
decide
yeah.
to have this baby aborted, I think it's something that you can look deeply into and see why they're actually
Surely.
doing that. Because should they have this baby, that trauma is going to continue in their lives. And
Again,
they won't take care of
there's
the
still an
baby.
alternative. You can have the baby and give it up for adoption. That's a consideration. But again, it all goes back to the management of the aftermath of the unexpected.
Anyway,
Well,
thank you
we
so
can
much.
take a long, maybe hours discussing this, but all we are saying is we advocate for methods that will empower you not to conceive when you're not ready. Even if it's a rape case, handle it very well. There are drugs that they can give that child, and that child will not conceive in procedure. So advocate for family planning and all these other methods, effectiveness. But still, your immune system is very important. So all said, you must be alive and kicking. And hallelujah, ginger tea drink, hallelujah, turmeric drink are the best that we recommend this morning, that will greatly boost your immune system and you keep strong. Most at such a time, it is raining, colds, coughs, colds, and a number of diseases that come with such a weather. So boost your immune system by ensuring you take drinks that are relevant in boosting your immune system to fight diseases.
We do have the poll question for this morning. Matters it's raining. We still know that you have an opinion or two that you can share with us.
And of course, our poll question now is, how can residents be involved to bold to help speed up investigations into massacre murders. We still want to have a discussion about this that is happening in massacre. We've had most recently the Vijambia, people throwing, Vipapula, threatening people there. We know also, as a matter of fact, that the Minister of Security is down there with a team of members of parliament, a committee, but also the caucus of Uganda is down there trying to make and put things together to make sure people in massacre are safe. This is quite precedented and followed by the various murders that have been happening there. People who are called the Panga-wielded Vijambia squad have been killing our people. Over 27 people have been murdered in cold blood, and that's why we pick our poll question today. Now be open to send your true sentiments, your true thoughts and your ideas to our social media platforms on Twitter, Facebook, but also for you who are catching us live on YouTube, you can leave your comment there, and also you can share your sentiments again on our WhatsApp number. Either you can leave a WhatsApp message or leave a SMS message on the same number. But far from that, let us take a break, have our song for the day. We hope this song does inspire you into starting this very cold day, as Robert said earlier. And when we come back, we'll be also diving into our newsreel. Good morning.
insightful.
We should work so hard to evacuate this power.
Behind the Headlines, every Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Charles Odongto.
Was brought to you by...
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
5 for 5, 5 times the winning, yeah. 5 times the happiness, yeah. 5 times the luckiness, yeah. 5 for 5, oh yeah. It's 5 for 5. 5 for 5, 5 times the money, yeah. 5 times the shopping, yeah. 5 times the prizes, yeah. 5 for 5, oh yeah. It's 5 for 5. 5 for 5.
Win! 100,000 Uganda to open your account online. Transact 5 times or more using Center Mobile, Center Visa, and Center Agent to stand a chance to win. The more you transact, the higher your chances of winning. So, participate in the 5 for 5 jackpot and win millions in daily and weekly prizes. The 5 for 5 jackpot is brought to you by Centenary Bank, our bank. Centenary Bank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund.
Getting GoTV was the best decision James has ever made. Finding a good place to watch football, the benefits of homegrown advantage. With a decoder and 1 month of GoTV Valley. For just 25,000 shillings, enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cap competitions. GoTV Uganda, love it.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning to you. Thank you so much for continuing with us on this 8th day of September 2021. To all the birthday babies that were born on this rainy morning, happy birthday to you from us here on Good Morning Uganda. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga and welcome to the 7 o'clock hour where we get into our newsreel with Robert Kirabo and Felix Nkunda. But before we get into the newsreel, we had our poll question that we presented before you, which we want to look at yet again. I picked this gentleman's minds before we get into the gist of this particular half hour. How can residents be involved in helping speed up investigations into the massacre murders? Hashtag UBCGMU. Please respond to us on our WhatsApp line by it also can dab as our text line. But I want to pick, your minds into this particular conversation. Then we can continue with our newsreel for the day, starting with you, Robert.
First, if you want residents, more so in local communities, build confidence. They don't have confidence in security organizations, you're going to get nothing from them. So the question would be, how have security organizations built that confidence? Yesterday I saw a bit of standoff between the Minister for Security and MPs, where they took about 5 hours. Just you don't have the mandate to investigate. Here people are testifying, giving what they shared, MPs. So if you don't have confidence, you can never, ever get anything from the public. Okay, all right. Felix, in your opinion?
Well, of course, the population has a contribution to give in these investigations. And for me, most of it must be in terms of, because you see, these people who are the perpetrators of all these murders don't come from probably Nairobi, they don't fly in every night and go back. They either stay in a particular place, they either buy food somewhere. There must be something they do with the community in particular. So as Robert talked about building confidence, I think also we must be able to identify ourselves with the police and the institutions of security. And that's our own obligation as people, because at the end of the day, it's our people who are being killed. So the best thing to do for them is to give the relevant information, as it is, or leading information. They may not be experts in information, but they have those small bits of information. Let them just be open. Probably also what police should do, should put up a more protective setup of protect witnesses. That's a big deal. That has been a problem here. That's why people don't. Police must come up with a way to protect people who are going to come out and give such information. What
the Muzungu would call protection witness service. Okay, all right. Those are their opinions. Now we want to hear from you in that regard. Send us a WhatsApp or a direct SMS on that line. Away from that, we want to do a post-mortem this morning on the COVID-19 Relief Fund. 2020 was a year that reshaped Uganda economically, socially, and development-wise. Now, that also went into the fact that it actually ended some people's lives, but it also did cause hiccup into how people were actually getting money, making ends meet, and giving the whole livelihood the effect that it should be having in a country like Uganda at the beginning of the year. So we went into a total lockdown, and while we were in that total lockdown, it came to notice that there's some people's jobs that completely were washed away, and that required that they be aided in one way or another to be able to survive that season. And that was through the COVID-19 relief funding. In 2020, it came in form of posho and also beans, but the process was cumbersome and was also long. It took days to get registered, then weeks to wait for communication from the local leaders, then a month later, 2 months later, the posho and beans does appear on your doorstep. And so we want to look at the variations that have come with the COVID-19 relief fund. This year we had the 42-day lockdown, which we went under, and the office of the Prime Minister came up with another form of COVID-19 relief funding, and this was monetary. Why? Because it was stated it's instant and it's direct, and they decided to send mobile money to those that were considered vulnerable, and so that way they can be able to survive and manage through the 42 days lockdown. This morning we want to do a post-mortem in comparison of the relief funds that we have so far, been affiliated with, what has been their success, their failures, the loopholes, and what's the way forward. Starting with the intentions of a relief fund, especially for a COVID-19 stricken country like Uganda. Felix.
Oh, and speaking about COVID times, and it will be easy for us to match it up with what actually happened. As you did give that background, Priscilla, you must take note that with the coming of COVID-19, everything very much changed. You do take cognizance of the fact that our lives have never been the same, and by that I would mean that many people cannot earn as they used to. It means many people may not even have places of work like they used to. And I can give an example of, let's say, the girls who are being waiters in bars. People who, bar owners, bouncers, all these people. Talk about some people in the transport sector, cross-border trade, just to mention but a few and many others. Because of this effect of COVID-19, it gives reason to any sensible administration to organize relief. Now, the word relief gives the basic explanation, or if I want to pick it up grammatically, is that it's a response to what we call a problematic existence, or a mischief, let me call it that. It's a response, and it must be immediate because of the kind of threat that is posed from the other side. And that's how we ended up with this relief cash. Some people have dubbed it Nabanja relief, which is also fine. And because of the dire state of Ugandans, you remember at the inception of this particular most previous lockdown, you do know for a fact that people were still soaring with the effects of the previous lockdown. And then came again the second wave, and the effects probably were made worse. You know that people were asked to go back home apart from what you want to call essential workers. I don't know how that has also been failed since then to be qualified of what's essential.
Who's essential and
who's not essential.
Who doesn't qualify to be essential.
Because with the status quo of this country, you notice that essential may be qualified by who you know.
Yeah, and the car you drive also.
That and how good you are in terms of generosity with who you meet. So
I love that
with all these things
has taken root in this country.
Well, it's opportunity. It's opportunity.
That you've come to accept that these are normal things.
Yeah, I mean, when the world gives you lemon, all you can make is lemonade. And they will be singing lemonade. So, but back to what Priscilla is asking about this whole relief money. So it had to come because there was need for relief. Remember, the president closed the country at night, and that was supposed to be. There's a way he talks with usiku, wajumasiku, whatever. Like, it had to start that night. Some people hadn't gone even back. People who leave money in their safe, shops, all was there. So there was need for relief. And if you remember, the Honorable Nabanja fast-tracked that process, and they said, I think, and that also informs why they chose the mobile money, because it was most convenient than going into the processes of purchasing food, what at that point. However, the thought was on point. But the biggest question up till today, and I think the other day Robert was hosting one of the gentlemen from Ministry of Gender about this whole mayhem. The biggest and the quest of that is the fact that for every project, if you want to call it, that is sought out, the best accountability is if it has served its purpose. Relief was needed because of the bad and dire situation in terms of food, because government could not do much about landlords, people who have debts, just to mention but a few. That's why they gave that relief. Now, the biggest question for me, Priscilla, up till today is that, was the target met? 1, 2, was the purpose served? Third, was the intention effective? Did we see this project cause effect to the latter in terms of what it was purposed? Okay,
all right. So in Felix's opinion, the intent was good, but then how can we be able to assess if it actually met its purpose, or it's what it was meant to do exactly? And that could be 100% or 50% or 25%. But let's also look at where we actually went wrong in delivery of this Nabanja money. Robert, what were the challenges that you see that came up through just the process of even getting from registering people and then getting them verified, them receiving the money up to the aftermath of it?
First, I'll begin with some scripture in the Bible. I may not remember that book very well, that says, "For all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory." That this was a project that to a certain extent depended on integrity and honesty.
Everything depends on that, Robert.
But for this particular, because it involved a Priscilla and Robert coming and registering that I'm among these categories. That is to begin with. I'm looking at genuine.
Okay, Felix and I didn't register, but
no, I'm just using you as examples. Okay. That you know the categories. You're not a saloon operator. You're not a border. You're not a vendor. So you're not in these categories. So therefore, you do not qualify to register yourself
for the relief fund.
For the relief fund. I want to begin from the grassroots until the office of the Prime Minister or Minister of Gender. So honesty was a problem. Yes, everyone was vulnerable, but there were specific groups that were known all over the media. So this group, that group, but because of lack of honesty, integrity, and moral decadence, people would position themselves to be beneficiaries of a program they are not meant to, or they are not the target audience. That was one. Two, most of the mistakes were done at the town clerk's office. And local leaders kept on saying, and politicians, yes, we accept it will be very hard to hold a politician responsible. But when you have community development officers, office of the town clerk, they do not know these people that very much. So they looked at professional bodies, these are organizations that bring them trade licenses, and they came with names to LCs to vet. Now, a member of an LC chairperson will look at the list and they'll tell you, your village, Mubarak, has only 40 slots. And these are the names we have. So you'd say, well, maybe this one is not.
So they give you the liberty to weigh who is more vulnerable.
Who is more vulnerable? The list. Yeah. So the LC would look around, either he doesn't know them or what, then would add some people he thinks that are more vulnerable. Then on receiving, some would clearly state that the people we put, none of them got this money. So second, also this process of filling in, you know, people would register their NIN numbers, their names, and data had to be filled in manually on a computer.
Yeah.
So that also, of course, Priscilla, if you have maybe like 1,000 names, at that you're bound to do mistakes in the first place. But selection was first missed by the people that did this registration. Then coupled with that, coming now to the NITA Uganda and our experts, technocrats who developed that system, that was where you're going to send the name, then it goes to the telecommunication company. There also we find a problem that these people either did not do their work very well or had ill intentions to mess up this program. Now we come to the telecommunication company. Out of that man, about 53 billion. Can you believe 600 billion had been made in double payments? 600 million, not billion, for clarification. So what happened? They noticed that Priscilla or Felix had gotten double times. Minister of Gender says it took 40 minutes, and they managed to recover 200 million out of the 600 million. So they either blocked this line and gotten the money back, or the telecommunication company went ahead and paid the entire money. Now, if these lines, someone deposits money on them, they are going to be deducting until they recover what you got that wasn't yours. So, technically, I'm not an expert in ICT, but I would wonder why a system handling such a process would commit that mess, or they wouldn't organize it very well. But one would say we've had these issues with some of our telecommunication companies, where I hear some people woke up one time and they have double of what they have on their mobile money. So the biggest problem was integrity. That is one. Second, the mess in registration. And finally, Ugandans not being aggressive when it comes to getting right documentation. That you would find a person having their line, but in the names of somebody else. And this also in one way messed the process. That a Priscilla Nalwoga, you would go and look for Priscilla Nalwoga, but when someone else registered for the benefit of a Priscilla Nalwoga. So these weaknesses happened. And the bad thing being that this is not going to be the first time.
Okay. All right. Felix, let's look at the fact that there were so many parties involved in this relief fund distribution. You have the Office of the Prime Minister, you have the Ministry of Gender, Social Development involved in it, you do have telecom companies, you do have members of parliament involved in it, you do have local leaders involved in it. It was quite a big circle for you to actually come to the actualization of 100% success to what the intent you talked about was. Yesterday we had Godfrey Oloya, the first recipient for this Nabanja money, coming out to give evidence that people, I am here, because it's been rumored it was a wrong person they sent to, it was a fake account, and he has come out to actually identify himself and say, I am here, I received the money, I actually bought seeds and went to plant in my home district. So the fact that there were so many hands involved in this maybe did cause the project not to take off as expected.
Well, of course, you see, government has a particular way it does work, and it has processes. That's why you see most of it is easy to apprehend people, because you either miss one process or one step, then you are already on a wrong track. Now, government contracted particular houses in time, for example, these service providers like MTN, Airtel, and I don't know which other.
There were those.
Yeah, and they told them what they wanted to do, and they gave them the particular lists which had come from the communities. So if there's anything wrong, you work backward, away from the technicality, the IT technicalities like giving money different times. But the names were given from the communities, which is what the ideal thing should be done. However, the challenge then, and I want for me to insist on that, was drawing a clear line between who was vulnerable and who was not vulnerable. That's why you found people ending up on the list, even if they didn't fall into the category as highlighted by the OPM's office. You understand? Because at the time of this most previous lockdown, vulnerability was extended away from professionalism, away from type of work. It was, the scope must be extended. You may not be qualified for you to, qualified when you say that it was meant to be for people, salon workers. That alone wasn't enough qualification. It wasn't enough for you to say that garage workers were vulnerable. It wasn't good enough for us to say that people work in restaurants were vulnerable. However, everyone was vulnerable.
At that time.
At that time.
The rich,
now,
the poor.
That's where the problem started. That the Office of the Prime Minister tried to define vulnerability in its own angle of
understanding.
Having in mind that the 42 days were affecting more, in their view, more these categories. That when you talk about...
And that's where they lost it. Seeing things from their point of focus, not in the reality of the matter. And I can give you an example. I want you to tell me a person who has people, let's say he has a building, people rent, and have not paid rent for the last 3-4 months. Isn't that person vulnerable?
Vulnerable, that is true.
Saloons were not closed.
Also, the fact that it was limited to, you know, cities and towns.
That's exactly
and they left
also
out the rural, remote areas,
now,
which also have a lot of
and that's where the problem started. No wonder you're seeing all these things coming up left, right, center. Because the definition, you see, relief, away from this kind, you see, away from the relief of, let's say, we have refugees. That is more specific. But if you have a lockdown, that Uganda as a whole is locked down, but you want to give relief to only Kirabo.
So a few categories.
Now, that breaks the purpose of relief. And no wonder you're having these challenges. That's why you find a senior journalist like Kirabo would die to be on the list. Because if you don't see that he's vulnerable, he sees it and is going to find a way. So when they come, LCA ask him, Sebo Goawa no kola mulimuchi, zindiwa taxi. So there was deception that was backed up by need because of the failure of the institution that was mandated to give this relief to cause true identification of who was vulnerable.
All right, Kirabo, as you come in, as we are wrapping this conversation up, let's look at the fact that that's done and dusted. Nabanja money is a thing of the past, but we do expect lockdowns.
It is haunting us.
The third wave may come in anytime soon. We have seen a report coming in that assessment of traders within the city center, are they maintaining SOPs, which is very hard. They're not fully adhering to the SOPs. So, and also the fact that the vaccines, we're still waiting for the 17 million you keep talking about here, but so far this week we have received 647,000 vaccines that have come into the country. But of course the target right now is teachers, so that schools can be reopened. But away from that, this is done and dusted, but we do expect that as a country we think there's a third wave, a fourth wave. We have seen it in other countries, meaning that this very same situation is going to be recurring for a while until we have total control over COVID-19. So what is the way forward with assessment of the 2 relief funds that this country has actually given out?
First, if I come to that briefly, I want to remind Ugandans, those that remember are not mentioned the name. We once had a VIP who was in charge of some project that was for orphans. He swindled the money, and when he was before courts of law, he said, but also me, my parents died when I was still young. So there could be levels of vulnerability. And we must understand that, yes, you could have your arcade, but if they're targeting a person whose job has been totally closed and earns day to day, maybe you have accounts, maybe you can get safe. So we must say that we all have problems, but there are more needy that have been pointed out, and let them get what is deserving of theirs. Priscilla, you must understand that it's only a fool who doesn't learn from his mistakes. The problem of this country is, therefore, we seem not to be learning from our mistakes and coming up with solutions. One time we talked about the term Angalo-land saga, and there's that common phrase, willing buyer, willing seller. We've talked about, first, we had the bins in the first lockdown. So as long as people know that they can carry out such acts of impunity and nothing happens, as long as we do not revise our judicial system to hold people accountable and do it in time, these will continue to happen. It is all about holding people accountable, having deterrent, because there are countries where such things can't happen. You have a job, you know you must deliver to the latter. An opportunity comes, you know you don't fit in that opportunity, you can't mess. But the legacy we set in these countries, nature chijja kugwa.
Okay. All right, Felix, how do we actually move forward and prepare better next time? One, in consideration of government and its entities responsible for such, and then also to, you know, the normal day-to-day Ugandan. How can they be better prepared for next time?
Well, I think Ugandans may not have much to do, and that's a matter of fact, in my own opinion. But I know that the government and its institutions have so much to do in terms of relief and preparedness. Now, we must dire and harshly distance ourselves from post-mortem modus operandi. You know, we must distance ourselves from this post-mortem way of life, where we want to do things in the aftermath of failure. You know, failure is more popular than preparation. Now we are here in this old saga of the Nabanja money, which many things could have been avoided. For example, double sending of money. And that's something we are wasting time on. The people who double sent the money should pay the money. We should even be sitting here discussing that honestly, even, and then a press conference, you sent double, pay the money. People were supposed to go to. It's a simple thing. What am I saying? Let us have preparations. Every time you prepare better, you avoid a post-mortem life. This was told to me when I was still a student, that you are given, as a given blank sheet, as you're doing exams, you have 100%. Once you start writing like this, it's you who goes on reducing. What you write will still, by the end of the exam, you may have a 20% out of 100, yet you started with 100. So, how we start most of these things, we have a clean sheet. The Nabanja money, everyone was excited. After the exam, how much have you scored? That's the question. So I think I must, for me, say this, that the people in institutions of government, you had better prepare. We can do preparations than investing a lot in post-mortem. You're going to see people being arrested, court, what? Yet we can avoid all these things.
Daniel Matovu says that government should actually continue sensitizing masses so that we can be able to avoid such stances of vulnerability when the next time comes. But as they say, disaster preparedness is not for you to get prepared, it's for you to prepare in advance. Prepare for a rainy day. This morning it rained, you must have had an umbrella somewhere, or you looked for a kavero, something to cover you. So there are many rainy days that are going to come our way as a nation, especially under COVID-19. We must be prepared as Ugandans, but also as the government finds better preparedness for such rainy days. We still continue with Good Morning Uganda. Now we get to look at the tabloids and what is written in black and white for their stories this morning.
Uganda, today is a great day to work towards your dreams. Dial *185 *7# and select savings to save as low as 500 Ugandan shillings on regular savings or 250,000 Ugandan shillings for fixed deposits. Airtel Money Super Saver is powered by KCB Bank Uganda. Airtel Money, instant, secure, borderless. T's and C's apply.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, Wear masks properly. Sanitize or wash your hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
Experience 100% 4G speeds across Uganda with the Airtel 4G Pocket Wi-Fi available at 123,000 shillings only. It comes with 15 GB free for 1 month. Visit the nearest Airtel shop, device selling shop, or Airtel online shop. www.airtel.co.ug/broadband-discover. Airtel, the smartphone network.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
One time an old lady once told me that if you're walking and you fall on a rainy day, you know it is raining and therefore it should be punishable. But if it was on a dry day and then there's no slippery surface and it's like, you'd have had an excuse because you didn't expect that. So how prepared are you? We have 2 rain seasons in Uganda, the March to May and of course September to December. So how prepared are you for this season will greatly determine what you can get from this season. How prepared to get to work early. If you're a farmer, it is not the time that you clear your garden. You should have done that and planting should be commencing. So let's ensure we fit in seasons. And talk about fitting in seasons, here in Good Morning Uganda, it's now a season for us to look at what is happening in the print media. I have the New Vision, a big headline there. Report ranked 153 districts and local municipal governments, where I have best and worst districts named. Best performing districts and local governments have a single district, Rubanda, Rubirizi, Ngora District, Mbarara, Masindi Municipal Council, Fiji District, Bushenyi, Ishaka Municipal Council. So those were really very effective tax collection, but also accountability of the various programs and funds according to them, according to the report. Then MPs charged with 3 murders and also remanded. That is Muhammad Segni for Machindie. Well, Segni has secured victory in court regarding electoral petition, but the same day ended in Chitalia. So, still looking at the New Vision, favorable rains expected. This morning will give us more. Hundreds face unemployment as Africell closes business in Uganda. Also look at the education column. That is past O level, where senior 3 biology, chemistry and geography plus senior 2 English are in for you. Then NSSF, a bill, a gender ministry rights to President Museveni. That is, we were waiting for a statutory instrument that will determine how this money will reach, of course, the intended beneficiaries. Hearing date set for MP Nandala Bafabi, 2 billion case. Also, the New Vision gives you more on that. And President Museveni directs on schools reopening. These are some of the stories in there.
That is to prioritize vaccination by these 550 teachers. President asks for new plan ahead of meeting next week. Government sets term for school reopening. Experts cite 15 hurdles schools face. Now IRC wants government to give Rwanga state funeral and go slow on social media. Janet warns children, and Uganda's baby incubator wins global award. Now MP Segirinya and Sewanyana sent to prison on remand. Now Kagame tells Rwandans to avoid Uganda travels, and Masaka killers, terrorists. Muhwezi comes out to say that. Of course, from the archives we see a photo of Kenneth Kaunda, that is then president of Northern Rhodesia, now Zambia, Julius Nyerere, Jomo Kenyatta and Milton Obote. In history today, 5th Anglican Archbishop is elected there. That is in September 1983. And also today in history, Mandela appealed by killings.
In the New Vision, we look at the twins, that is a column of late where our twins were delivered at 8 months. There's a family there that had twins. You also look at facts or myth in the new vision. Can eating garlic help prevent people getting infected with the coronavirus? That is a question there, and the expert gives you the answer. COVID-19 tracker, that is Uganda. New confirmed cases 52, new death 8, total deaths so far 3,061. Please do not be part of these statistics. Once you have the symptoms, a fever, a cough, a headache, a sore throat and challenges in breathing, please seek medical advice and perfect the soaps.
Now in sports, we'll be looking at Mutual Promises Beta and Volleyball Cranes beat Burkina Faso, now Russell to Mercedes. And of course, we'll also be looking at New Look Victoria Pau Chess, their T20 World Cup, and Proskovia unshaken by contract expiration, but also Novice Masaba leading New Look URA into unknown CAF territory. Now Mutual Promises Beta after World Cup qualifier draw with Kenya.
And in the new vision sport today, we have Chemtai for action, that is regarding the Olympics there. And we also still look at Chemtai. It's more of dominating since it's a Wednesday, a crush on women. There's so much regarding Chemtai there. And of course, some of the successes she has made when it comes to various competitions she has been part of. And also she's here, Olympic champion Chemtai was given a lifetime award. But don't forget, these and more, Ruben will be here to take you through all those catchy stories in the world of sports and of course some fun that is happening in that arena there.
And of course, what's trending in the Daily Nation, we see Ruto's running mate headache. Just who will the DP pick from vote reach Mount Kenya there, and paying the price for justice blow as CJ Kwame reviews court fees upwards. Now in education, inside CBC mock test for grade 5 there, and of course they give you what will be taken to in the pilot study as they did open up their education section. Now COVID pandemic exposes costly healthcare, same case that we did have in Uganda a couple of months ago. But far from that, we want now to let you be led into the heart of this beautiful country, Kampala, by Priscilla Nalwoga.
Country being Kampala, picking it up from where we are at the central of Uganda, in Nile Avenue and also Oasis Mall. Now for the one at Nile Avenue, it's quite clear, but then the one at Oasis Mall, surprisingly, is having traffic jam around it. You do expect that jam coming in from Yusufuru, especially people who are trying to avoid the jam on the Mulago roundabout, but also the fact that there could be some jam that could be experienced in areas of Chisementi. So rather, they come use the Oasis Mall, maybe connect to Nile Avenue, and then be able to connect to upper parts of, the central business area of Kampala. This Oasis roundabout is connecting with the traffic that is coming in on the Kampala Ginger Highway, and this is around Kitgum House. As you can see, you do have red zones that are picking up to maybe possibly getting onto Kampala Ginger Highway or getting onto the Oasis roundabout. You do also have lots of traffic that is being evidenced around the Mukwano roundabout, which means that traffic has heavily built up on that route. There is red zones on either side of traffic, either traffic coming in from the town or traffic that is going to town. Both sides have red zones, meaning that there's lots of vehicles. Usually at about this time, you are having the traffic making 2 to 3 lanes or even 4 lanes for some stubborn drivers. But that is the reason why you do have cumbersome jam just between the Strait of Kitgum House and the Airtel roundabout. Now, Airtel roundabout has 3 roads that feed it or they feed out to. You do have the Wampel Avenue Strait, you do have the Old Port Bell Road Strait, but also you do have the main business route, which is the Kampala Ginger Highway. All these bring in traffic as well as take out traffic on this particular Airtel roundabout, which causes lots of red zones this morning because everyone is stuck here, and that explains the red zones towards the roundabout on either way. But then away from that, a sneak peek into Wampel Avenue, the rest of it is clear. it will put you either in Kololo, from where you can be able to connect to the likes of Acacia Avenue, or even you can use that to connect to the bypass to avoid the traffic jam that is expectedly having to build up around Lugogo Gam area, because it has rained this morning, so that place usually floods. A few months ago there was a video of a Jama who was swimming in the floods that had actually collected around the Lugogo Game area or ShopRite area. So please have that into consideration, knowing that it has rained. The spots that actually cause flooding in your vicinity, find a way to avoid them this morning so that you can be able to get into your office now than later. Focusing on these particular 3 routes, also on Old Port Bell Road, you do have some traffic away from it, but also building up to the SL roundabout that is expected to slow things down. Put that into consideration. If this is your main route, you might want to use alternative routes, go through 6th Street, go through the industrial area basically, and find a way to avoid the Port Bell. But also when you look at the main route, Kampala Jinja Highway, this morning you do have the traffic that is building up right from UMI, which is Uganda Management Institute, onto the SL roundabout, and that is both sides, traffic to Nakawa and also traffic from Nakawa. But let's follow this route and have a sneak peek into the bypass and Lugogo area that I have talked about, and see how the traffic is actually flowing there this morning. Okay, here it is. You do have sports centers on either side. You do have the Chadondo rugby grounds. On the upper side you have the MTN Arena, but this particular place is where it usually floods when it rains, and as you can see, the floods have already caused the red zones that we were fearing. There are indicators on the Kampala Jinja Highway intersecting with the Lugogo bypass. You do have red zones building up to the traffic lights, red zones from Kampala CBD, but also you do have an orange zone on the Lugogo bypass connecting with the traffic lights here. Indicators that the flooding is being made aware of, and people are driving carefully to be able to avoid their cars getting any sort of challenges on the particular area code. Away from that, you go past UMA main hall, you get to see the backside of it would be Lugogo Close, which would be an alternative route. But we now get on to the Nakawa area, Nakawa Trading Center or Business Park. You get to see that there's traffic that is coming in from the route from Moobs, and then it is also having traffic that is building up to Moobs. That is an indicator that there's something there. But away from that, the traffic lights are managing business here, but nevertheless people tend to have 3 lanes, especially for traffic heading to Nakawa. It can end up being 3 lanes, so you must be careful of that. Away from that, this is going to then feed us into the Spear Motors. Katalima Road is recently been worked on. The potholes have recently been worked on, so you can see the indicator of that is that now the traffic there flows right into the Nakawa area easily. You do have a green zone here within that particular area of Katalima Road, and then it brings you to the Nakawa, where you do have Spear Motors. Ntinda Road, Nakawa Jinja Road are all making a cross section here, and obviously you do have expected jam that is stretching, having serious stretches, which would cause you to spend more than 30 minutes in this particular area. One, because of the rain and the general traffic. So those two coupled together, you're definitely going to have to consider over 40 minutes if this is your access road to wherever it is that you are going. Well, thank you so much for those comments that you have shared with us. I just want to pick a comment that came in. Babs International is saying she's not getting the signal this morning, but there's a comment here that a lady sent in. Whether it's defilement or rape or abortion, it's not the solution, because you might end up not having a child. What if you abort the only child you would have had in your womb? Thanks for the brilliant explanation. We shouldn't run away from our problems, but find ways of handling them. This is a conversation that we started with here on Good Morning Uganda. So thank you so much for your contribution. Kenyana Molan here to continue with how nature is actually talking to us, but maybe we're not listening.
and it is already causing those heavy kind of waters on the road, and that can also affect traffic. But we also look at the rains this morning. It wasn't just in Kampala, parts of Wakiso, Entebbe did start off with those rains, and also across parts of western Uganda. But we look at now the sun starting to come through here in Kampala. We still have those drizzles, but the sun is starting to come through. So if you are still home-headed town, you might still want to carry that umbrella or have a warm jacket as well, as those rains are still in the air. But that system will be clearing later on as the day progresses. Well, today we want to dive more and look at what the season is looking like. Well, the Uganda National Meteorological Authority has broken down a regional forecast, and this has been downscaled to different areas of the country. We want to look at generally how it is going to look like. And September to December does constitute our second major rainy season across the country. But what is happening for this time, this season, we are looking at below normal rainfall, and that is like below the average, and also we're forecasting near normal, which is near to the average rainfall forecasted for most places within the country, where there has been suppressed rainfall that is expected. And however, we're looking at September to mid-December being the enhanced period of the rainfall, even the rains that we're seeing today morning across the country, also for this week. But that will only go until mid-October. That is when the rains are expected to really enhance. You look at the yellow colors there on the map, that is indicating the places where we're likely to have more enhanced wet weather activities, and most of those are actually around Lake Victoria, considering that those are going to be affected by the local effect, mostly influenced by Lake Victoria. We also have the influence of Mount Elgon, so those areas can expect to have more wet weather activities, but still below average if you look at the colors there. Now, still, if you look into the map, what is supposed to be normal, that is to 40, from 40 to 90%, supposed to be in blue colors, but you don't see it anywhere. So that means the rains that we're expecting this season, and this is important to note, won't even be to the average compared to the years in the past, how we've been having rainfall for this season. So all the numbers that we have are actually 40 to 90% below normal. And looking at the colors being shown in the map, that is to like 40 to 50%. That is going to be below the average rainfall amounts that we usually have for this time of the year. And also looking at the detailed forecast, it shows that the major physical conditions are likely to influence the weather conditions over Uganda does include the states of the Indian Ocean, or the Indian Ocean usually affects our weather, and most of the winds that come from the ocean towards the country, if they are moist, then they do carry with them those wet weather conditions. So we look at the state, is it like a negative state? And there is more science to that, but usually also that affects our weather. And also the Pacific Ocean, we look at how also which state is it in. Is it like in the neutral state in terms of, and this is still like more science to the El Nino and La Nina situation, but we look at the neutral situation that it's in right now. It's in a state of neutral, and that is Elgon enhancing wet weather activities. Now looking at that map that is being shown mostly to the green colors, now that is the area that is expected to actually have, there's going to be rains over those areas, but still you see the blanks in white. Those areas can expect to have mostly reduced wet weather activities. We look at parts of central northern Uganda and a little bit towards western Uganda, but at least most areas in the green can expect to have a little bit of rains. That is for the month of September. That is looking at September across the country. Now when we move over to October, that is when the rain starts to reduce. Look at the green colors only to the southwestern part, to like the map from September, and then look at October. Now the rain's reducing. Well, a little bit to the western part of Lake Victoria, and you can see now it's in green towards most areas across the lake. But then coming over to October, we see it reduce even across the lake. So that leaves only parts of Sembabule, Masaka, Rengo, Rakai, Lyantonde. That area can still expect to have a little bit of rains towards during October, and that is now the time that is going to be favorable for the crops to grow if you start planting within at least mid-September. And a little bit more looking at ahead at what November will look like now. November has significantly reduced activities. Looking at what is expected, still the Lake Victoria Basin now starts to pick up. You look at areas like Kampala, Mukono, we look at Wakiso, also to the side of Jinja, Tororo, Masaka, still to the western parts of Lake Victoria, and also parts of southwestern Uganda. Now those areas can expect to still have rains, but at the same time, we look at those being reduced. The colors in yellow are showing still below average. Those are not to the normal of what we've been experiencing over the years across November. So still this season is looking drier than what we've had in the past. And most areas still during November are going to be really having reduced to no rainfall. Take a look at Karamoja, for example, northern Uganda, still to the western side, looking at reduced wet weather activities. That is something to consider if you are planning on which type of crops to plant. The fact being that there's going to be stress in rainfall during the month of November. But also moving on to December, what is expected, we see more rains now picking up to the eastern stretch that takes in eastern parts of Uganda, moving over to the Karamoja region. But still, if you look at the color being shown there in orange and yellow, still very reduced rainfall, below the average that is usually experienced. So this is going to create a lot of stress across that region. Still looking at Lake Victoria, and like I mentioned, Lake Victoria does get an effect of being influenced by the lake, but still those rains are expected to be really below the normal that we usually experience during that time. So the areas that are being broken down, and we will look into details as we go on with the show. But for now, I want to tell you we are seeing very much reduced wet weather activities, and still the Uganda National Meteorological Authority has accompanied this with a lot of advisory that is coming in, and what are going to be the implications of the current rainfall forecast across the area. Now, this implies that there are high chances for socio-economic activities to continue normally in areas where at least average or adequate rainfall is expected. But for areas where there is deficiency, where we are seeing that there's going to be little rain to suppressed rainfall, the activities are likely to be stressed. And this is expected to also continue having an impact, especially on our agriculture sector. And there is more to actually look at which plants we can plant, which crops we can plant at whatever time, looking at which period will be having more rains. I can tell you September is actually the period that is expected to have more rainfall. So if you do have to do the planting, this is the right time to do that and have that water in the soil to help your crops grow. But also taking in mind that this is going to keep reducing and reducing, and we've not seen this kind of rainfall season. At least in the past 5 years, we've had rains continue being our second major rainy season across the country. But now we are looking at more dry conditions. And still, this is when we talk about the variability in our seasons. And I'm still going to attribute this to the climate changes across the region and across the world as well. But for East Africa, looking at a region where we've had more rains in this season, and now we're looking at these variations, this is obviously going to put a stress on the agriculture sector, not just the agriculture sector. There are a lot of sectors that do depend on the rains for this season. But it is still not all bad news. We do have some rains there, and also having advantages of our local influence with forests. And we also still get influences from our neighbors in Congo. We do have those Congo masses that usually come with moist winds, bringing rains especially to western Uganda. So we can count on that, and obviously we'll be giving more details within the forecast. The document is quite long, but This morning we want to go ahead and give you the prospects of how the morning is going to be looking like across different places within the country. Well, western parts of Lake Victoria, that rainy system is still there, bringing in light rains across most places over there, but we shall be warming up to 26 degrees centigrade as the morning continues. Southwestern Uganda, that's where we do have Mbarara, Ibanda, Bushenyi. We have Rubirizi in that category. We are forecasting light showers as well. It's still going to be a warm morning, warming up to 27 as we head into the afternoon. Well, across Mount Elgon Highlands, still having mostly clear skies as we speak right now across that area, but the morning expected to also have intervals of cloudy conditions, mostly a sunny morning across Mbale, Bududa, Buko, Sironko. Temperatures expected to be at a cool 25 degrees centigrade. Now, the eastern part of Lake Victoria, already we have that rain system that is headed over there. It will be bringing rains across Iganga, Busia, Tororo and Jinja, already having splashes of those cloudy conditions that will be bringing in rains, but still at 26 degrees centigrade. Now, eastern Uganda, we have Soroti, Katakwi, Amuri and Kumi, expected to have intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions at a warm 26 degrees centigrade. Also, eastern part of Central, that is where we have Ruwero, Wobulenzi. That area is expected to have light showers, already having those rains as we central part of the country. We have Gulu, Kitgum. That area is already having intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, warming up to 27. But we do have a rainy system headed your way. Do expect rains as we head into the afternoon. That rainy system will be reaching your area, and those are actually expected to be quite heavy over there. Well, for the central part of Lake Victoria, where we have Kampala, Entebbe, Wakiso and Mukono, we're looking at still rainy conditions over that area. We still have drizzles coming over, and those are expected to warm up to 26 degrees centigrade across the country. And also for the northwestern part of the country right now, across Arua, that area is still having rains as we speak. Those will continue into the afternoon, and most areas actually will be picking up during the afternoon in terms of wet weather activities. Well, I'll leave you at that. We do have Good Morning Uganda agenda coming up with Robert. Later we shall have sports, but also not forgetting that we have Good Morning Uganda Extra with Jagenda Semakula. My name is Modern Kenyana. I want to wish you a good morning.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
Authentically symbolic and insightful.
We should work so hard to evacuate this power.
Behind the Headlines, every Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Charles Odong Top.
Was brought